Hi guys, my name's Chelsea and this is my husband Curtis. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome! We make videos about travel both abroad and all about here in Alberta.
But we also want to teach you how to afford it because travel should be attainable to everybody. This video is going to be an intro to personal finance.
So Curtis and I have been incredibly fortunate and we have spent a good portion of the last year traveling. And one of the most common questions we get asked is, how do you afford it?
That's why we're talking about personal finance. So I took an interest in personal finance at a very young age. At around 13 or 14, I had an uncle that gave me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. As soon as I got the book, I started reading it and I couldn't put it down. I finished it within 2 days. That book alone inspired me to take business in university, start my own business, and make a promise to myself to always strive for financial freedom. Ever since then, I've read dozens of books on personal finance, sales, marketing, you name it. In fact, many of the points that we're going to touch on in this video are covered in Rich Dad Poor Dad. This video is not sponsored, but I'll put a link in the description below on where you can pick one up.
So when I said before that one of the most common questions we get is, how do you afford travel? I think that most times it doesn't ever come across as a genuine question. It's more of a rhetorical or I can't believe you afford it.
Must be nice.
People don't seem to be genuinely asking because it feels awkward. For the most part, ever since a young age, we've been told not to talk about money. You don't talk about politics, religion, and the unsaid one is you don't talk about money at the dinner table. When people start talking about money, it comes from either a place of bragging or insecurities. And I don't think that that should be the case at all. I think that we should be open and honest and talking about money and learning from each other, which is exactly the first principle of personal finance and what we're talking about. We gotta start talking money. You got something in your teeth. There's one right there. I can't. For some strange reason, personal finance has not been taught in school. And for the most part, even our parents are weird when we start talking about money. If you ask them a simple question like, what do you make? They'll probably give you some cryptic or sarcastic answer.
I'm making up.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Enough, or money doesn't grow on trees. Or not enough, that seems to be a common one too.
For some reason in our society, we've been conditioned that talking about money is taboo, and in our opinion, it's crucial in order to learn about money and master it.
So not talking money has created all of these unrealistic expectations about costs of living and taxes and savings when you go to move out for the first time. I know that women in particular have a hard time talking about money, and it's a huge contributing factor to the gender pay gap.
Mostly because girls don't ask for a raise because we're not supposed to talk about money.
Yeah. And probably the scariest one of all, in my opinion, is that early arguments about finances is a top predictor about divorce. So now that you see all the problems that not talking... Why are you staring at me? I thought you were giving me eyeballs about divorce or something. Okay. So now that you see all the problems that not talking about money has created, I hope that you're fired up to start having conversations about money. So now that you see the importance and you're all fired up about talking that moolah, we're gonna give you some ways to get that convo started. Numero uno on our list is to ask your parents. Parents are typically an easy people to talk to and they want the best for you. Starting conversations like this with them should be easy.
Easier than like stranger or something.
Even if you don't think that your parents are particularly financially savvy or you don't want to flat out ask for advice, there's questions that you can ask that can help ease the tension and would make a conversation happen pretty naturally. Is there anything that you regret about money or things that you wish you'd done sooner?
Or any financial wins that you've ever had?
Yeah, what do you wish you'd done differently? What's the best saving method that you've ever had?
What's the stupidest thing you've ever spent money on? Because there's lots of those.
Parents are so happy to give their advice, so I think that's an easy place to start for sure.
Number 2 is surround yourself with like-minded people. So there's an old saying, I don't know who said it, but it goes something like, you're the average of your 5 closest friends. So if you have 5 friends and they all make varying amounts, most likely you're going to be making the average amount of money between all of your friends.
If your friends are constantly complaining about their racked up credit cards, then chances are you too are going to have the same sort of problems because you're going to be doing the same sort of activities with them and have the same, dare I say, horrible spending habits.
Number 3 is to be honest with yourself and take an emotionless look at your finances. As fellow Canadian Kevin O'Leary says, don't cry about money because money won't cry for you.
Heartless. Point number 3 is to be honest about money. Sometimes we can't afford to do something. We can't afford to go out for dinner with our friends. We can't afford to go out for the weekend. But we feel ashamed of saying that, even though to better ourselves, it might be the perfect thing to say. We'll make up an excuse like, I've got a prior commitment or I've got to clean the garage out this weekend. Instead of being upfront and honest with your friends and family and flat out saying, I can't afford to do that this month, I think that it opens up the conversation again. It breaks away some of the stigma of money. And if your friends and family respect you wanting to get financially ahead, they'll understand something like that.
You really have to own saying, I can't afford that. The more you say it, the easier it becomes, and the more confident you're going to be saying it as well. Point number 4 is education. Books, YouTube, podcasts, blogs, etc. I get it. All of these different platforms are kind of one-way conversations. You're kind of consuming whatever's getting thrown at you and there's not really a lot of dialogue back. But the more that you can consume all this different information, you're really going to immerse yourself in the world of personal finance. And remember, whatever you focus on grows. So whether that's money, whether it's relationships, whatever you focus in on and put all your attention towards, that's what's going to start growing and you're going to see some real results. It used to be said that spending 5 hours on YouTube or 5 hours reading a blog was wasted time, but that's no more. There's a ton of great resources out there and you can really learn a lot by putting some time in.
It's not wasted time if it's educational and it's going to help you out in the long run.
Tip number 5 is don't ask people, wow, that must be nice, or geez, I wish I could afford that, or geez, wish I could go there. Most people ask these questions because that if somebody's buying this new car or buying this new house or going on this trip, it's because they're in that much of a better financial situation. And that's not true at all. A, it's either on credit. It's either on credit and they can't afford it, or B, they actually have a good plan and good personal finance skills that's helping them get towards these goals. Instead, try to reframe this question and say, hey, I see you guys traveling all the time. How do you guys budget? What's your savings plan? Can you guys give me any ideas on how you can save while traveling? This will open up the conversation and make things a little bit less awkward, and hopefully you can learn something from them. And if their answer is, oh, I just racked up my credit card and went on this awesome trip, you probably don't want to be asking them for any advice. But you can certainly learn from their mistakes. So to sum it all up, we just wanted to open the dialogue about talking about money. It's not going away, it's here to stay, and unfortunately, it is what makes the world go round.
So please get out there and start talking openly and honestly about money. Ask questions, immerse yourself in the tons of learning resources that are out there.
If you guys have any suggestions on how we should be talking about money, if you have any suggestions, if you have any resources, or if you can just relate to these last stories, please leave them in the comments below.
And we want to talk to you about money. We can be the people you talk to. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is our first video on personal finance.
And if you guys want to see more videos on personal finance, please hit the like button.
Since you're down there already, you may as well hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next one.